Malcolm Turnbull there on 7:30 last night. For more on federal politics, we're joined from Adelaide by Energy and Environment Minister Josh Frydenberg. Minister, good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Nice to be with you, Virginia.
Why did it take so long for the Prime Minister to come out and admit that he donated $1.75 million to the campaign?
Well, it was going to be revealed in the normal course of revealing public donations at the time that they've been made, and as he said, they were made in this financial year. But the key point here is that the Prime Minister has abided by all the rules. He has been very generous with his wife to the Liberal Party over many years, as well as a number of other philanthropic causes. There's no inference of influence when a person makes a donation to their own campaign. In fact, it's the purest donation of all. The same can't be said about Bill Shorten, the Labor Party, and the big donations they receive from the unions. And in fact, it took a Royal Commission to find out that Bill Shorten had received a $40,000 donation to his campaign back in 2007. So the Prime Minister has stuck by the rules and abided by them at all times.
But he's pushing for donation reform and transparency around campaign financing. So explain to us how his position has not been outright hypocrisy when he has danced and dodged around the many questions around this exact figure for so many months.
Well, the Prime Minister has made clear that the issues about donation reform and campaign reform are going through the proper processes of a committee, the Standing Committee on Electoral Matters, and we'll wait for their findings. But in terms of the current rules as they apply, the Prime Minister's donation is being announced in accordance with that. And
but wouldn't you just answer the question?
To announce it last night.
If someone had directly asked you how much did you dip into your own pocket, you just answer the question, wouldn't you?
Well, he did answer the question last night, and now everyone knows. Well, no, Virginia, I think this is an issue of semantics, really, because he announced his donation last night, and that donation's a significant donation, but it's also consistent with his past generosity to the Liberal Party and to many other causes, and there's no influence whatsoever of influence.
One other question I have on this, though, is how come Malcolm Turnbull, being the second biggest single donor to his own party, doesn't buy him peace from his backbench critics?
Well, as you know, there's always lots of views within a political party. It doesn't matter if it's Liberal, Labor, National or Green. In the context of our party, we've got people with a wide variety of views on a wide variety of issues, and the beauty of our party is that they can be heard, and that doesn't lead them to be forced out of the party, a bit dissimilar to what the situation is with the Labor Party.
It's a bit ungrateful, isn't it?
Out of the party.
But if it wasn't for his money, your party probably wouldn't be in office, and yet the critics, his own critics from his own party, from his own party room, want to sit there and snipe at him. It'd sort of curdle in your stomach a bit, wouldn't it?
No, look, I think the point is the Prime Minister's made this donation public. He's abided by all the rules, and the hypocrisy of the Labor Party, who receive millions of dollars from the union movement, which in fact does determine their policy positions, they're the ones who've got the case to answer.
All right, let's move on to the other matter on coal-fired power stations, putatively in the future. It'll surely please the right wing of your party, and it'll surely please those in One Nation territory. But can you put your hand on your heart this morning as Energy Minister and say it's truly the most modern and environmentally responsible move that a government can make?
Well, yesterday in the speech, Virginia, the Prime Minister set out very clearly what our priorities are when they come to energy policy. First and foremost, it's the security and the stability of the system. Today I'm in South Australia, and they've borne the brunt here, a very unstable system where 1.7 million households lost their power last year. So we've got to stabilise the system now. Coal-fired power, together with gas and hydro, are all baseload forms of power, and they can stabilise the system. So as this transition to renewables is occurring, it's very important that we keep coal-fired power in the system. The Prime Minister also talked about the affordability of the system, because we are seeing higher electricity prices, and they particularly hurt lower income households who spend a greater proportion of their income on electricity than higher income households, as well as it being a major cost for business. So the lower energy prices will be better for investment and better for jobs, and at the same time we want to transition to a lower emissions future. Now, the technology around clean coal is being rolled out throughout our region. There are more than 700 of these clean coal-fired power stations in Asia. They're making a real difference in reducing emissions while providing baseload power.
Sure.
And so Australia, as the biggest coal exporter in the world, should be looking at how we can roll out similar technologies.
Yeah, no, look, just to jump in there, Minister, I can see logically why that would be appealing. The trouble is, as I'm repeatedly told here by those who claim to know, that it is something of a myth. It's actually not that clean. Are you genuinely persuaded that it is?
Well, even Alan Finkel, the chief scientist, in his interim report, included a reference to the fact that clean coal technology can reduce emissions by around 40%. From some of the existing power stations that don't have that sort of technology. Now,
sure, but
of course,
they're
that doesn't
operating.
reduce emissions.
Sorry again to jump in, but they're operating and they're at an emissions level that is totally unacceptable. So 40% of horrific off is not that much of a deal, is it?
Well, actually, if you combine it with the potential for carbon capture and storage, you can reduce emissions by up to 90%. And this is our point. Which is we need to be technology neutral when it comes to making decisions about our energy policy. We don't want to be ideological. Renewables have a big role to play, but there is challenges that are posed by their integration into the system, because when the sun is not shining or the wind is not blowing, the power is not being generated. Now, storage is the way of the future too, and the Prime Minister outlined that in his speech yesterday,
yes,
and the importance of investing more in pump hydro and other forms of battery storage.
Yes.
Now, that would be good news for the renewable sector, but as long as this transition is taking place and the challenges it poses to the stability of the system, we'd be mad not to be considering these other forms of existing technology that apply to clean coal.
Okay, I've got to let you go, but just very quickly, if we can, we do hear that President Donald Trump is close to ripping up the US end of the Paris climate change agreement. What will happen if the US does that?
Well, we've made a commitment to our 26 to 28% emissions reduction target, and that is something that we're on track to meet. Now, when it comes to the United States, I did notice that Rick Perry, my counterpart as the Energy Secretary, who's going through his nomination process, highlighted what he considered to be the priorities for their system, namely energy security. He said there was a big role for renewables. In fact, in Texas, they had rolled out wind power, but he also talked about energy affordability and clean coal. So we'll continue to work with the United States. We'll leave those decisions to the Trump administration, but
yep,
we are committed to our Paris targets.
Minister, good to have you on board. Thank you.
Thanks, Virginia.
And a few really important